everyone, and welcome to Metagame Mastery, where it's not just about what the card does, but how it impacts the game. Guilds of Ravnica preview season is upon us, and today we're going to look at the return of Shocklands, as well as a new infinite combo! If you enjoy this content, click that subscribe button so you get access to all our latest videos, and if you're looking to support the channel, check out our Amazon affiliate link in the description below where you could pre-order your Guilds of Ravnica booster box. Without further ado, big time! Go time! Let's go! Overgrown Tomb is getting new art, and this is the first of 5 Shocklands that we are seeing reprinted today. They, of course, match up with the color combinations of the 5 guilds being featured in this set. Before the announcement that they were reprinting Shocklands over the weekend, there was a lot of talk about, oh man, you know, Standard's gonna be a lot more restricted because we're losing the bicycle lands, we're losing the fast lands, and now we're gonna have to really single it down to monocolor, double color decks. All that's gone. I mean, with the Shocklands, if you're not familiar with them, they have 2 basic land types associated with the 2 colors that they tap for, and they enter the battlefield tapped unless you pay 2 life, in which case you get great mana fixing that plays really well with the buddy lands, the check lands that are already in standard thanks to the Ixalan block. So with relatively little downside, you're going to have a ton of mana fixing in your deck, and you won't be losing tempo because of it. You're going to see a lot of 3 and 4 color decks in not only viable, but become the standard in the standard format. Sacred Foundry is also getting a reprint. Steam Vents is being reprinted with new art. Temple Garden is being reprinted as well. And Watery Grave. Ral Zareth is back as Ral Izzet Viceroy. He's 5 CMC, 3 colorless, a blue and a red for a legendary planeswalker with a starting loyalty of 5. You can +1 him to look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. You can -3 him. He deals damage to a target creature equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and in your graveyard. And his ultimate is -8. You get an emblem with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, this emblem deals 4 damage to any target and you draw 2 cards. Wow, this guy's really good. First and foremost, obviously he's set up to help you storm off, and we're going to be taking a look at the specific mechanics of each guild later in the video. This guy's designed to play well with the Izzet mechanic of Jumpstart. And really, it's just pumping out instants and sorceries. This is going to play really well with the wizards that we got from Dominaria. And his +1 allows you not only additional card advantage, card quality on top of that, being able to choose which one goes to your hand, but the one that goes to your graveyard, if you choose a Jumpstart card, you can still access it from your graveyard. So in a lot of ways, it's like you're getting 2 cards off of each +1 off this. That's very powerful. And then his -3 obviously protects him. It's also specifically worded to interact with the cards you've exiled via Jumpstart, as well as the ones that are in your graveyard that you're populating with your +1 ability. Lastly, his ultimate is better than Chandra Torch of Defiance ultimate. This thing deals damage, gets you card advantage, and it just doesn't quit. This is going to be a very powerful planeswalker. In fact, he's so good, you're going to like the Masterpiece version. Full art, no borders, it looks gorgeous. Now, what are they doing in this set? Masterpieces will not be in regular booster packs. Instead, you can get a special booster box that's designed specifically for draft. It's got 24 packs and it will have all 8 of the masterpieces in it. You can only get it through Wizards of the Coast. It'll cost $250. So you're paying a very heavy premium for these masterpieces. I'm going to go through 7 of them with you today. It includes Ralzert here, 6 reprints, and then another new Planeswalker that is yet to be revealed. Vraska! Excuse me. So, without further ado, Elsbeth, Knight Errant is being reprinted. We've seen this card before. It's not going to be standard legal, but it looks great, and I love the storytelling on this card. If you're not familiar with the lore, in Theros, Elsbeth was killed by Heliod out of jealousy. And in Theros, when you die, you go to the underworld, and you can come back as a zombie by creating a golden mask, which she's holding in the full art here. Basically confirming a fan theory that Elsbeth will indeed be back someday, possibly as a white-black planeswalker. I'm really looking forward to that sometime down the road. Duretti Ingenious Ironclast is here as well. Liliana, The Last Hope, gets a reprint. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, easily the big money masterpiece of this set. You're going to want... He's such a powerhouse in Standard right now. A lot of players are going to want to bling out their decks with 4 copies of this incredible alternate art. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas, is being reprinted. Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, the OG Nicol Bolas Planeswalker card, is being reprinted with full art, and it looks fantastic. Now, first up of the 5 guilds we're looking at today is Boros. And we have Boros Challenger, appropriately named, right? A little on the nose. Anyways, he's got 2 CMC for a 2/3 human soldier with Mentor, which is the Boros-specific new mechanic. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with less power. You can also pay 2 colorless, a red and a white, and he gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So this guy is incredible value. You're getting an above curve 2/3 for 2 as is. He plays very well with other mentors as well, having his power on curve. But late game, you can pump him up so that he can mentor things that may have surpassed him. Or if you were to draw into him late game, you can pump him up to get additional value out of him. He's really good value early game. He has value late game. This is never a dud card. Great and limited. In fact, Wizards seems to think the same thing because he will be a full art promo for the Magic the Gathering open house, and it looks spectacular. Barging Sergeant is 5 CMC, 4 colorless, and a red for a 4/2 Minotaur Soldier with haste and Mentor. So this guy has the power to trade down. On the surface, you're paying 5 mana for 5 power, assuming that you have something else on the board with lesser power that will attack in right away the turn it comes into play. That 2 toughness makes him super fragile though, so it's really going to hurt if there's any sort of shock type mechanic that's going to nix him off the board right away. That said, I like the aggressive mentality. You're still getting 5 damage crashing in the turn that he comes into play, so there's potentially a lot of power here. And as you'll see while we go through the other Boros cards that have been revealed, the more mentors you have on the board, the better. Hammer Dropper is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, red and a white for a 5/2 giant soldier with Mentor. Now this guy doesn't have haste, but he has +1 power, and he costs 1 colorless less. I like him a lot. At least a lot more compared to the other one. He's going to be able to mentor a lot of your board. He is very fragile. He's often going to trade down, but he's going to be aggressive at the same time. So between the two, I would pick this one if you're going into Boros. If you know you're going into Boros, I would pick this one every time. Legion War Boss is 3 CMC, 2 colorless and red for a 2/2 Goblin Soldier with Mentor. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. So, Goblin Rabble Master, this is not. Because it only gives 1/1/1 counter every time it attacks, and it doesn't make it so that your goblins get plus X based off of the number you have on board. That said, you're getting a lot of value off of this guy. If you're able to get through a full turn cycle with him, he's going to attack in for 4 damage off of a 3-drop. That's pretty powerful, just for the upfront cost, and then he'll continue populating your board the longer he stays out there. That's pretty extreme. Also, he plays very well with other Goblin cards that came out in Core 2019 and Dominaria. Skirk Prospector, Siege Gang Commander. I mean, the list goes on. This guy is potentially going to make it so that you can build a very solid Goblin tribal deck in Standard. Keep an eye on him. Healer's Hawk, and I have to apologize for the picture quality on this. I just snatched up the first image that came out. It was previewed just as I was working on this video. That said, I love this card. Like, seriously, this is going to see play in Pauper. This is going to go right into my cube. It's 1 white mana for a 1/1 bird with flying and lifelink. I especially like how this interacts with Mentor. You drop it turn 1, and then everything you play after with Mentor continues pumping him up. He's evasive, pushing damage across, but at the same time negating any damage your opponent has done to you via the lifelink. This is an absolute value engine. Snatch this one up early in draft. Thought Erasure is a blue and a black for a sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card. It also has Surveil 1. Surveil is the new Dimir specific mechanic. And what that means is you look at the top card of your library and you may put it into your graveyard. This is a great card quality mechanic that not only allows you to draw into the cards you need with a scry type effect, but it also allows you to populate your graveyard. If we learned anything from Search for Azcanta, we know how powerful this effect can be, and it will be even more powerful with all the graveyard specific mechanics we're getting out of this set alone. I really like the way that all the tribes, or guilds I should say, mechanics integrate together, and this is going to be a very powerful control card that will definitely see play in Standard. In fact, Wizards knows that it's going to see play. They're reprinting it in this gorgeous FNM promo that I imagine is going to be the most highly desired card out of the entire FNM promos for this set. Sinister Sabotage is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, blue for an instant, counter target spell, Surveil 1. Strictly a better cancel. That said, this looks like a great way for you to get an additional gas off of your control spells. This is going to push the value in control decks, and if you're building around populating your graveyard, which many of the colors do, then you're going to get great value off of this. Not only does Dimir play well with Surveil, but Surveil gives gas to the Izzet and Golgari mechanics, as you'll soon see. This also is getting the FNM promo treatment. Deadly Visit is 5 CMC, 3 colorless, black for a sorcery, destroy target creature, Surveil 2. So this just goes to show you that it's not just Surveil 1. You will be able to pick and choose how you stack your library with Surveil. Also, this is just great and limited. Unconditional removal is always powerful. Unexplained Disappearance is 2 CMC, 1 colorless, and a black for an instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand and surveil 1. So you're paying 1 more mana for unsummon with upside. That's still a really good card. Of course, all this graveyard populating, you're going to need a payoff. And so we get a reprint of Necrombia, which costs 2 CMC, 1 colorless and blue for a 1/1 flying illusion. But if it's put into your graveyard from your library, you may put it onto the battlefield. This already sees play in Modern Dredge. We know how good this card is. And putting it in a standard where you have 3 specific mechanics just in this set alone that benefit from populating your graveyard, this is going to get you some extreme value. Firemind's Research is 2 CMC, blue and a red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on it. You could pay 1 colorless and a blue to remove 2 charge counters from it and draw a card. You could pay 1 colorless and a red, remove 5 charge counters from it, and it deals 5 damage to any target. I have mixed emotions about this card. First of all, it's a story spotlight card, and if I'm not mistaken, that looks a lot like Niv Mizzet getting his spark. I'm really interested to see how this plays out in the lore, but that's just me going a little Vorthos on you. When it comes to the card itself, this could be an incredible payoff for the Izzet Spellslinger build. In limited, you might be able to push this. The thing that makes me question this card is in standard and in limited, the 2-drop spot is so important. And this doesn't do anything the turn you put it into play. Taking this second turn off in a game is really powerful downside. So for that reason alone, I really question if you're going to be able to push this to see its absolute potential. But Wizards of the Gathering seems to think differently, because this is going to be the Draft Weekend promo with incredible looking alternate art. Quasi Duplicate is 3 CMC, 1 colorless blue for a sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. It also has Jumpstart. Jumpstart is the Izzet specific mechanic. You may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a card in addition to paying its other costs, then exile this card. So it's kind of like Flashback meets Replicate. It's a great way for you to pitch your excess lands, especially if you're burning through your deck in a Storm deck type of style. That said, this is strictly a better Cackling counterpart. I don't know if this has a spot waiting for it in standard, but I know in EDH I will be replacing quite a few cards for this. Sonic Assault is 3 CMC, 1 colorless, blue and a red for an instant. Tap target creature. It deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. It also has Jumpstart. So I like this card also. More so for limited than anything, but it's a tempo play that also gets you some chip damage in for additional value, and you can do it twice. So you can really stall out the game until you're able to essentially combo off. Once again, I have to apologize for the image quality. That said, this is a really good card for that deck archetype. It's direct current, it's 3 CMC, 1 colorless, red for a sorcery. It deals 2 damage to any target with Jumpstart. So first and foremost, this is terrifying for the Boros cards that we've seen. We've seen a 1/1, we've seen a 2/3, which could survive this, mind you. But we've also seen a 5/2, a 2/2, and a 4/2. So this thing is the Boros killer. That said, it's just a great way to continue pushing damage while storming off in the Izzet deck. Radical Idea is 2 CMC, 1 colorless and blue for an instant. Draw a card. It also has Jumpstart. So this is a card quality filter in a lot of ways, allowing you to draw a card that you can immediately pitch to jumpstart it again. Also allowing you to get the benefit of storming off even more. And just to show you how much benefit there is from storming off in this set, there's Murmuring Mystic. Once again, I took this offline as soon as it was posted. The card quality isn't great, but the card itself, or the image quality isn't great, but the card itself is potentially extremely powerful. It's 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and blue for a 1/5 human wizard. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 1/1 blue bird illusion creature token with flying. So in standard, this will come down after Goblin Chainwhirler on tempo, and it has the ability for you to really just combo off populating your board with a ton of evasive damage dealing tokens. Just when you were stoked to get Fatal Push rotating out of standard, we get Necrotic Wound. It's 1 black mana for an instant with Undergrowth. Target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Wow, this is potentially, in the right build, this is better than Fatal Push. Now, don't get me wrong, Fatal Push had straight up just was reliable. It had generic value on its own. This is a little bit more of a build around. This isn't going to fit as comfortably in, say, straight up control decks than Fatal Push did. That said, we're talking about instant speed removal that you can play in addition to another spell, but for the low cost of being off curve by only 1 black mana. And it exiles the creature as well. You could use this as a combat trick against anything. This is potentially amazing. And with all the ways for you to populate your graveyard in this set, I imagine it's going to be able to kill almost anything very, very quickly. In fact, this is going to be the League promo as well. Underrealm Lich is 5 CMC, 3 colorless, black and a green for a 4/3 zombie elf shaman. If you would draw a card, instead look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put 1 into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You can pay 4 life at any time, and he gains indestructible until end of turn, and you tap him. So this isn't something that you typically want to send in and mix it up in combat. And that 3 toughness is really going to hurt him. I mean, in standard, for example, there's still Abrade's rotating out, but there's still Lightning Strike, there's still Wizard's Lightning. There's a lot of ways for you to ping this guy and force your opponent to pay 4 life to save him. That said, he is a great card quality filter. And on top of that, he's going to populate your graveyard super, super quickly. This is a really powerful card. He's going to play well with Izzet decks that are trying to storm off but populate their graveyards. He's a great way for you to fuel Undergrowth, and he also plays super well with the Gitrog monster in EDH. Moodmark Painter is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, black for a 2/3 human shaman with Undergrowth. When it enters the battlefield, target creature gets Menace and gains +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So this is a way for you to benefit from populating your graveyard and push some additional damage through. That said, it's just kind of a combat trick. I'm not super high on this one, even in limited. Here we see the return of both hybrid mana and split cards in Status and Statue. Status is a black or a green for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. Really powerful combat trick that almost certainly turns into removal. Also, there's Statue, which is 4 CMC, 2 colorless, black and a green for an instant. Destroy target artifact, creature, or enchantment. I really like the versatility of this card. You could put it in any black deck, no matter what you're pairing it with, just for status and limited. But you can also put it in any green deck as well, really pushing through additional removal. If you happen to be in Golgari, though, you get Statue. And Statue is very powerful, getting you unconditional removal for 3 permanent types on 1 card at instant speed. I love this card. Here we have the set's Buy a Box promo. It's Impervious Great Worm, 10 CMC, 7 colorless, green, 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 for a 16/16 worm with Convoke and Indestructible. Now, if you're not familiar with Convoke, we have seen it in 3 previous sets, but they are going to do some additional different things with it in this set. It's not just about putting out big creatures like this one, but in general, Convoke is you can tap creatures in order to help cast a spell. Each creature you tap counts as 1 colorless mana or 1 mana of that creature's color. So the secret tech in this set is going to be the cards that benefit from you tapping them down to pay Convoke costs. This is a way for you to trigger a lot of them all on 1 card, and that's going to be the real power of this card. Also, he's going to be really mean if you're running Thud in your deck. Conclave Tribunal is 4 CMC, 3 colorless, and a white for an enchantment with Convoke. It enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. So this is our generic Oblivion Ring type effect. This time it has Convoke, which makes it interesting because we can typically play this as an additional spell per turn, allowing us to gain tempo that way. It's unconditional removal for any non-land permanent, which is powerful. I imagine this is going to go very quickly in limited. That said, in standard, I don't foresee this taking the place of Ixalan's Binding unless there's a very specific Convoke build out there. Outside of that, though, Ixalan's Binding is strictly better. That said, apparently Wizards of the Coast thinks that Convoke deck is going to be a thing because they are making this into an FNM promo. And we have Rosemane Centaur. He's 5 CMC, 3 colorless, green and a white for a 4/4 Centaur Soldier with Convoke and Vigilance. Now this guy's pretty sweet because odds are you're going to be dropping this guy on turn 3 most of the time. Getting a 4/4 Vigilance on turn 3 is really powerful. So I imagine this guy is going to be an absolute beast in limited. Arboretum Elemental is 9 CMC, 7 colorless, green, green for a 7/5 elemental with Convoke. He also has Hexproof. So just like the Impervious Great Worm, this is a way for you to trigger a lot of your Convoke payoffs all at once. Also, Hexproof makes him really good for you to equip him up in an Enchantress style deck. That said, unless you have some way to equip him up, even with Hexproof, you're paying 9 mana for something with 5 toughness. More often than not, he's just going to get gang blocked and taken out. Now I've been talking about payoffs for tapping your creatures with Convoke. Amara, Soul of the Accord, is possibly the best. She is a green and a white for a 2/2 legendary elf cleric. Whenever she's tapped, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. Very powerful. Not only is she a creature that you can tap to Convoke, she creates another one that you can tap to Convoke, and then she continues to populate your board every single time you convoke a new card into play with them. In fact, she is going to be the Store Championship promo, and with breathtaking, absolutely incredible full art on this. She's also part of an infinite combo with Intruder Alarm. When you tap her down for any purpose, she creates a token. That triggers Intruder Alarm, untaps her and all the rest of your creatures. So Obviously, with any tap outlet, you can create infinite tokens, but that presumes that they'll survive until the next turn cycle. So you might want to have something a little bit more immediate in play, like Loam Dryad. It only costs 1 mana. You can get it out the turn before her, and it will be untapped by the Intrude Alarm every time she creates a soldier token, allowing you to get infinite mana and finish your opponent off that turn. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed this content, click that subscribe button so you get access to all our latest videos. Also, if you're super duper stoked about Guilds of Ravnica coming out, go ahead and pre-order your booster box from the Amazon affiliate link in our description below. This has been Metagame Mastery. Peace!